So this is the roadmap to CGPA 3.0 plus. I'll be sharing to you with some tips and tricks to get CGPA 3.70 plus. Why 3.70? Why not 3.90 or something? Let me tell you something. If you have to study like 3 or 4 to 5 hours a day to get 3.70, you would have to study like 8 to 9 hours to get that 0.20. So it's better to get a 3.70 plus rather than 3.90 plus, because at the end it is quite the same, and that 0.2 CGPA is not that worth. Okay, let's begin. So what I'm going to say that every exam is kind of two parts. So these are the two parts, the home and the exam hall. So what are they? The first is the home, which surprises us with like 65% of the preparation is from the home, and the 35% of the preparation, or the 35%, depends on the exam hall, that how you write. Let me tell you something. The toppers, who are indeed the toppers, are not the most knowledgeable person, because that it's not about how much you know, it's all about how much you can deliver. That is the thing. So home study and exam hall are two types of things that you have to like concentrate upon. Okay, so if we begin, so let's begin how to study in the proper way. So the first thing first is the PYQ. So what on earth is PYQ? PYQ means previous year questions. Previous year questions. Let me tell you something. If in every kind of board exams, the most important thing is previous year questions, because if you don't know where on earth the questions are coming from, you would never be able to answer them. And the best way to have the best of preparation is previous year question. In everything, in every way of life, the best thing is to see how the previous time have been working. So okay, I've said the thing, previous year questions. Okay, but how to study the previous year questions? Those are just questions. I cannot answer the questions. I cannot write the question in the exam hall, right? So what to do? So the first thing first, you have to open the book, get a good book, and I would suggest to get multiple books. Even if PDF, that's not a problem, but get multiple books, because from multiple books you will able to get multiple solutions. So from previous year question, okay, you need to do backtracking. So what on earth is backtracking? Let me tell you something. The books we have, we are given the solution first and then the questions at the last, but the best thing would be to first take the questions and then analyze the answer. Because what do you do in exam hall? You don't go in exam hall and given all the answers and you have to write the question. You don't need to do that. You have to do the opposite. You are given questions and then you have to find or write the answers. So what you should do is first grab the previous year questions and then start backtracking, start writing all of the answers. And now the question comes, how should you do that? Let me tell you something. The best way to do backtracking is via notes, and what my favorite thing is, what I do is through materials. And notes are very simple. That if you, my suggestion is just previous three year questions. It depends on what type of a competitive exam it is. So but normally previously 3 year questions are more than enough. Not more than enough, but enough. And if you want to go more, or you are weak in a subject, you can go to 4 to 5 years. That's optional, but I never do that. So first you have to make the notes, and notes are very black and white. You just write the questions and you just write the answers from the book. That's all. Notes are nothing more. Now come to the materials, and here the fun part begins. Materials are something that I've made by myself, and let me tell you something what materials really is. I'm going to show you my material. So this is my materials 4th semester. Okay, I just moved my phone a bit. So this is my materials, 4th semester of my materials, right? So if I open it, you will see it starts with the numerical analysis. I first given the questions, I used multiple color pens so that I wrote the equations with green color pens and the normal lines with black color pens, so that it's just intimidating, and it goes and goes. So then it starts with database management system, and here you can see how did I wrote them. First database, then definition, what is database, and then database management system, its application, database, it goes to database administrator, which is DBA, and its definition and its functionality, and this and that. So a question might arise that why do I do it? Because our brain is not programmed to memorize abstract information. It can only memorize information which are connected to each other. You can see that I've done the complete materials in this way, like hundreds of pages in this way, and I've used multiple color pens, like the blue one is the most important, and then the green one, and then the black one, which is less important to know, and the red one is for the question name. And this is how I have constructed my materials throughout, and I have given charts. And then here are programs which are in complete pages, then design algorithm, and for every other subject I have made these materials, which is constructed from several answers. And why is that important, and why do I even do that? The reason is because what I do is I do backtracking, I make the notes, and after I make the notes I make the materials, because the materials are made from several sources and several factors. The materials are like the final solution. Just before exams I might see the notes, might or might not, but what I'm going to see is materials over and over again. I'm going to memorize the materials over and over again, so I'm going to have everything in that materials. It's done. So it's what you do. So the materials is done. Next, the next part of home is spaced repetition and home exam. So what is spaced repetition? The name suggests spaced repetition means that we have to repeat after a certain space. Like, there was a famous man, Bruce Lee. What Bruce Lee said was that I'm not afraid of the person who knows 1,000 or 10,000 ways to kick. I am afraid of the person who have practiced one kick for 10,000 times. So that is what spaced repetition does. Let me tell you something, memorizing a lot of things and not being able to do any of them in a good way is never going to help you. You have to memorize the same boring information over and over again. Keep your resources limited. That's why my materials are not that big. There are very few information in my materials, but I've constructed my materials in such a way that I have to memorize that over and over and over and over again, and then I just have to write that in exam hall, and that's enough. That's more than enough. So spaced repetition. How to make spaced repetition most effective? So that what I do is I read my materials first to last every single day. After before 1 month of the exam, before 30 days of the exam, for consecutive 15 days I do spaced repetition, and this is most helpful for me, the spaced repetition. It is also, you can say, revision, that I am memorizing my materials. But this time what I did, just I made the materials, I made the note, but now I am doing spaced repetition. What is that? I am memorizing my materials. Then the crucial part comes, home exam. So what is home exam? Home exam is giving exam in your home, in the same environment of the exam hall. You have to think that you're in the exam hall. You have to take a plain sheets of paper and then just start giving the exam in a proper way. 3-hour full exam, just with previous year questions. Then what you have to do is then feedback. You have to have the feedback of your exams. It's not only giving the exams, you have to give the exams and then study that where did you make those mistakes and how could you improve. And you have to give exams over and over again, like 3, 4, 5 exams of one subject would be very good. If you know and if you have given exams in your home, it would be very easy for you in the exam hall, in the original exam hall. So home exam. Okay, so these are the parts of home. So home starts with previous year questions, then you have to do backtracking, make the notes, make the materials, do spaced repetition or memorize the materials, give home exam, and again spaced repetition, again home exam, and do it until the exam comes. And then the second part, exam hall, how to cope in the exam hall or how to give the best in your exam hall. So for this question, the question arises that quantity versus quality, which one should you prefer? Should you prefer quantity or should you prefer quality? In this question, what I'm going to say that both of them are important. If your answer sheet is filled with quantity, if you have written a lot but nothing really makes sense, you're not going to have much numbers. And even if your answer sheet has a good bunch of quality, it would take a lot of time and effort for you to get through that quality or get that kind of quality in your exam sheet, in your answer sheet. So what should you do? So I'm going to answer it a bit later on, but then some things like FFL. What does FFL means? FFL meant figure and faltu lekha. What I did was that I used to memorize all of the figures, all of the diagrams of everything, and if a question start, I used to give the definition first, then the diagram, then the description of the diagram, and then some other lines with that, and then the question is over. And then what I did was did it first and last. Let me tell you something. Whatever you do, if it's quality or quantity, the first question and the last question has to be the same. What we do is we give too much time in the first question, and what it does is that we don't get enough time in the last question. So we should try to avoid it. And so now the final master plan. So what should be our final master plan? What should I do? It took me 4 semesters, like around 3 years to get to this, and that was this 40% quality and 60% quantity. How does that work? That I am going to write the first 40% of my answer with premium quality, the highest quality possible, like from the book, from my materials, and the 60% would be quantity. What does quantity mean? That I'm not going to write as same as the book or whatever my thoughts. It's like converting the passive voice into the active voice, and I'm going to write it that way. So I'm going to fill my notes, I'm going to fill my answer sheets with quantity, but it will start with quality, so that both of them would be the same. The thing about board questions or board exams is that we don't know which kind of teacher is going to check your answer sheet. So it could be a teacher that who is wishing for quality, and if you offer quantity, and it could be a teacher that who is wishing quantity or quality, and you're offering the other way around. So that might be harmful for the exam. That's why you should have both quality and quantity. In this way you would never lose a lot of grades. Okay, so even if you don't get much high grade like A plus every time, but you would not get less than A minus. That's the thing. So these are the way, and this is the final master plan. This is all. You just need to do all of this, and then you're good to go.